All right, here we go. Well, call the meeting to order at 9:35, 9:36. Roll call, everybody's here except Randy, who may dial in. Yeah, Randy's in.
Oh, there he is.
All right.
Oh,
Hey, Randy, why don't you unmute yourself and
Present.
Yeah, right. Say aye.
hail, the gang's all here.
All right.
Okay, well, this meeting's being recorded by the city of Greenfield. If any other persons present are recording this meeting, you must notify the board chair at this time. The chair and the Board of Assessors reserves the right to remove or have removed any persons for profanity, threats, or any continued disruption during a meeting. Got that, Chuck?
No. Yes. No, I have it.
Okay,
Thank you.
so review and approve the previous minutes. Did everyone take a look at them?
I think I did. You sent them out before the weekend, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I move we approve them.
Second. And Randy, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, I approve.
Okay, all
Aye.
right, there we are. Okay. Thank. All right, great. Now, public comment, do I hear a motion to open public comment?
I'll make a motion to open public comment.
Okay,
Second.
great. Speaking time is 3 minutes for each person, state name and address. Before we go into the rest of the agenda, Bob, Stephanie, Ryan, do you have anything you want to say? It's your turn as public commenters.
I'm just listening today.
Okay, and Ryan, I take it is doing the same thing, or he's just being silent? Okay, and
He has
Bob?
you on the big screen.
Oh, wow. That just brings a lot of ugliness into your living room. Bob, how about you? You have some comment?
I was just wondering, I think I sent a message to you folks that said, what's the status of 125 Mohawk Trail? It keeps appearing on your agenda as a hotel and 2 buildings. It's not been that for years. McGovern Auto Group bought it.
I'm bringing up the tip line. Make sure it's in there. If it's not, I'm going to put it in.
Yeah.
That's like a catch-all for everything that needs to be examined, as far as I'm concerned. Would you say 125 what?
Mohawk Trail.
Okay.
I don't remember getting a note from you, Bob.
It came
It's
in.
not
this
in
morning.
here.
Oh, it came in this morning? Oh,
Oh, I
I
haven't
sent
seen
it
it.
this morning right before your meeting. I'm sorry.
oh, okay. That's the reason I haven't seen
Do
it.
we think it's unpermitted or undervalued for the work that was done? Or do we, is it just
Well,
undervalued?
What I was
It's an empty
told was
lot.
that the permit that the hotel had still applied until McGovern Auto Group applied for a new permit. Like, as far as I can tell, they never have, and it keeps getting listed as a hotel and 2 buildings. So
So we're gonna
it's
call that,
it's currently for sale. So I'm thinking that it will have a second chance to say, oh, let's settle that permit, environmental permit, before we let somebody buy it and do something different with it, unless they go back to building a hotel and 2 buildings. That'd be fine.
Is this a zoning thing?
I don't think so, no.
No?
This sounds like what we heard about in the new growth meeting.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you guys joined that last time, but that was super fun. Gonna be another one, June 20th.
I have to step away for a second.
But in that meeting, remember we were talking about these, they hold the permits open for
Yeah, yeah.
10 years. Just so that they don't have to book the new, just so they don't get their taxes raised.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that this is the lot next to Applebee's.
Yeah, I think, is it to the left of Applebee's, closer to the circle, or is it the McGovern lot?
I'm back. I'm sorry, I had to step away for a moment.
That's
Bob,
okay.
is that the lot next to Applebee's on the right?
There's a service station, I think, between
Sharon?
No, I guess the lot is between a service station and Applebee's, yes.
I think
Yeah,
it's,
okay, so they did apply
Yeah.
for some type of special permit at one point to get permission to park cars on that lot. And, we still have it
I'll
listed
find
as a
it.
hotel
You do the
because it
meeting.
really hasn't changed use. Until it changes use, we're gonna keep it at what it is. So it's just a vacant lot and it's still reflecting the previous use until something else replaces it.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
okay. Hold on a minute. We're just bringing up the.
Yeah, I wanted to
tip
show you
line.
the tip line. But I'm struggling.
You need to enable sharing.
Well, I can make myself the co-host. That'll do it.
Yeah.
I've done
okay.
that
There
before.
you go. Okay.
It's not the best way, but it is a way. I just want to show
Okay.
you the tip line so you can see that I added it to it. And
Okay.
so you can refresh yourself on stuff that's in there. So I mean, it's on our agenda to do it every meeting anyway. All right. So there you have it. The bottom, I added 125 Mohawk Trail as it's unpermitted. It's got an old permit.
Okay. So do I understand it, Randy, that the old permit is still active until McGovern pulls a new one or there's a new owner? And the property changes hands, is that correct?
I'm not sure on that. That's a question for Mark Snow, the building inspector, but I believe that there's a timeline on permits and that's not going to stay open forever.
Okay.
So, and as I said, what he was referring to was the use of it. We're classifying it as a hotel. And why hasn't that changed? Well, it's not going to change until there's a change of use. Just because the
Right.
hotel that was there is demolished and gone, nothing has taken its place. And just because of, even if a dealership or whatever prospective business buys it, it's not going to change use for, in our world until that actually happens, till there's a dealership built on it. And then there's, a whole outfit going there. So once it gets improved after the sale, and I did notice that, yeah, it's up on the market again. So McGovern apparently changed their mind. Once it has some type of permanent path to its new class, then we'll
Yeah.
classify it as such.
And that's key. And that's what we found out in our meeting. It's not whether the last brick went onto the last building. It's whether the building office lets us know that that permit is complete.
But what triggers the change of use?
That's what I'm talking about. It's the permit, it's change of use permit. And when it's complete, the change of use is complete, and that's when it changes in our system. Or
Okay.
when we are allowed to change it in our system.
I didn't realize there was a change of use permit.
Yeah, there's actually several which I think are all change in use, but just, so there's change in use, there's like something that has the word occupancy in it. And then a lot of them that I found that in the description, it said it's like from a 1 to a 2 family or whatever. It's just the type of permit is just called building. So I know I talked with Eric today and we talked with Mark, and they're pretty hard on that their database is in great shape, but it's hard for us to use when there's a change in use and it doesn't say change in use.
Yeah, well, maybe the database is okay from their perspective, but it may be incomplete
From our
from
perspective.
their perspective.
Yeah, but anyway, I have that right, don't I, Randy? That it's when we get that closed permit for change of use, that's when we're allowed to change it.
Well, I don't know on, as far as when we're allowed and when we're not. It all is tied into the permit process because, yeah, there's going to be a permit for whatever goes there. That's what I was saying. Right now it's an empty lot, so we're still classifying it as it was. And, there's no interconnectivity between Municity, the building permit system, and Patriot. So we're not getting updated. When they make changes on their end, we're getting a snapshot basically of
Yeah.
the permits that month, and that goes into our system, and then we work them from there. If there's other things that are happening on their end, it's not interconnected and we're not getting updated.
Yeah.
Vicky actually has started sending me some information about different permits that have been withdrawn so that I can remove them. But there's not that type of interconnectivity. It's just a process where, okay, there's a permit. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out and inspect. And I don't necessarily need the okay from Mark to classify this as whatever it is now. If it was changing use, it's changing from a 2-family to a single family, then I need permission from Mark. I'm going to wait until Mark tells me that all the state codes have been adhered to and that the presence of the 2-family is gone and that it's a single family now.
Mhm.
Thanks,
Okay.
Randy. That's exactly the kind of explanation that I think is really helpful for everybody to understand why these things would, I don't know, Bob, does that help you?
I'm as good as I'm going to get, I'm sure.
Well, we're glad we're getting the best of you. Okay, and the permit interoperability, wasn't that a module in Patriot?
Yeah, we haven't received that yet, have we, Randy?
No, we have not. That is something that will be coming. It's in the budget, and all that does is it's an automated way for the permits to be entered.
Right.
And again, there's no interconnectivity. We're just taking a snapshot of the information and entering it into Patriot, and then we work it from there. And that's why in some cases you're seeing permits that are still open because we don't have the time or the manpower to manage every one of the permits that goes in and close it up. I mean, in theory, we should if we're following up on it, but I do know that it hasn't been necessarily happening.
But when you say close it out, that is closing it out from our perspective. And the permit has to be closed with the inspections department, right? That there are two different closes that we're talking about here, yes?
Right, they have their own system and their own process where closed means something different than it does in our world.
Okay, that's great.
This is exactly the kind of thing we're talking about the new growth meeting is if we can figure out how to smooth the processes between the departments, that should help us find and book new growth more accurately. So, I mean, I don't want to telegraph, but maybe there are things Mark and his organization can do, just letting us know, or whenever such and such goes on, like, sending us a note or something.
Yeah.
That's not really clear yet, but maybe it's possible that there are things that they can do over there to make it easier for us and less manpower for us.
Is it worth us booking an appointment with them and Vicky?
We already
maybe.
have been talking about it, Vicky and Mark and I.
Oh,
And
good.
so
Good.
it's something that we're aware of and trying to strategize in the best way to, to keep track of everything. But
Okay.
unfortunately, we've got a couple things that are, more important in the meantime.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but it's something that we're aware of and discussing and brainstorming on the best way to solve.
Okay.
That's the best way.
Yeah, and let us know how things go. Okay, ongoing Board of Assessor business.
Did anyone else have a comment? That was Bob's comment who triggered that, right?
Right, yeah.
Did-
And anything else from our visitors? If I don't hear anything from any of you, I'll assume we can move on. Okay,
Hi, I was wondering if that was the list that we're supposed to be inputting potential new houses that were built?
Anything that's either work that was done unpermitted or things that don't match in the database, like Bob said, so they're being undervalued. And you don't have to, I mean, I think I did give you the link for this, but you don't have to type it in yourself if you want. You can always just call me or text me, I'll put it in for you.
Yeah, because I noticed 3 new houses up on Log Plain Road. So I didn't know if those were
You have addresses?
already categorized. One of them is 345. And then there's 2 houses next to it.
and wouldn't these be covered by permits?
Presumably.
Okay, so that's just really to check the permits.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thanks, Steph.
You're welcome.
Okay. Assessor office operations, Randy, you want to comment on that?
Well, we're past abatement season finally. We do have a couple that are hanging out there. We've got one more that we'll talk about today, but for the most part, almost done. And just getting ready to move on. We're submitting our information through the MDM1 and Gateway for exemption reimbursements. Devin and I are strategizing the next things that we're going to be doing in for the office, and excuse me, basically getting the exemption information ready to get mailed out come July 1st. And different things, we're just trying to get caught up. We are finally caught up on deeds. Devin, good job.
Right.
Wow.
That's a big deal.
Yep.
And overall, yeah, just trying to do whatever we can to get caught up. Moving forward with getting bids for the personal property project. I'm trying to reach out to other communities still, and I got a better lead recently on where I can get a job description for a data collector, because we'll be ready to start advertising, and you know, we'll put that out there and see what type of response we get.
Since you're on that, staffing, any further progress with the assistant assessor?
No, there's no progress to report. We haven't started to look or advertise.
Okay, what are we doing with forms of list? Where are we on that?
The personal property project.
Well, you know, that is to validate. Is that correct, Randy? The personal property project is to validate the forms of list or to identify businesses? To confirm the identity and location of businesses? Which is it? Or none of the
It's a full
above?
measure and list. So they're going out to every business, which in effect is kind of rendering the form of list that we've received moot, because we're going out to check ourselves. So that's something that it is in the contract to pay RRG, but I've had discussions with Harold since we're moving forward with this project to possibly, you know, adjust down the amount that we're paying him, so that we're not paying him to do something that we're also paying someone else to do. So
Yeah.
Harold has been great about that, and you know, just allowing us to move forward with what he feels and, you know, kind of knows is in the best interest of Greenfield.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I would imagine that rather than decreasing the amount, which is a hard to estimate number, it'd be better if he just did stuff in a more timely manner, because he doesn't have to do this.
Oh, look, he could be working down the permit reports or the
Yeah,
tip
right,
line or
right.
some of that stuff.
Yeah. But you'll deal with Harold on that one.
Mhm.
Right, I do anticipate getting the form of list back, and then we'll probably have to, you know, it'd be a good idea to look them over for address changes and that type of thing. Any information that's on there besides the inventory. So, you know, that's something that we can, you know, do, and something depending on who we get, you know, as a additional staff, that would be something good to start them on reviewing that type of thing.
Well, if RRC is gonna do the personal property stuff, can they validate the forms of list? What I'd like to do is make sure that people understand that they've got to report this stuff accurately. And if we have somebody who's looking at what they filed and looking at what's on premise and you know, letting the owner know about the disparity or congratulating him for being accurate, seems to me that'd be a good thing to do. Is that part of the RRC contract?
I don't believe that part of it would be, and that would fall more on our shoulders to take care of that and to be efficient about the whole situation.
Okay, all right. So it's not part of the contract to validate.
Well, they are validating by going out and checking everything, but as far as a comparison, there's
Yeah,
reports that we could run a current to previous, or something like that to see, like you're saying, how well was the information getting reported? And
Yeah.
then, I mean, you know, if we want to go around and with our ruler and slap people on the knuckles or something like that, you know, we could, you know, not necessarily have to speak to anybody, but it would give us a list of people to be, you know, aware of and,
Yep.
you know, kind of keep an eye on.
Okay. But so we get the form of list, we input all of the items on the form of list or just the totals?
It depends on the circumstances. In some cases, they generalize, like with furnitures and fixtures and that type of thing.
Okay,
But you know, many things are identified individually, and that kind of has to do with the type of business that it is too, and the category that it falls under. Because you know, every business will report. We're looking basically at a replacement cost new, and then we're going to apply depreciation
right.
and not necessarily take the business's word for what they think the depreciation is. But if we have it categorized correctly, we have our own internal depreciation tables that are taking care of the adjusted value.
Okay, but I guess I'm still unclear. RRC is going to, in effect, generate a form of list based on their inspection? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that correct, Randy?
Yeah, they're going to generate an inventory of
Okay.
assets, not necessarily the whole form of list
Oh,
and all of the other information.
okay, and then we're going to compare what they came up with what was filed?
Well, we
No.
have the information that's in our system and not
Right.
necessarily, you know, I don't know. Like I
Uh.
said, it'd be great if we had enough staff that we could scrutinize things that closely, but I'm not sure if we're really going to be able to do that.
Hmm. Okay, well, maybe there's something that Chuck and I can do, but we'll take that up later. Sure. RRG report?
Yeah, and they have just been kind of going along. It's a quieter time of year with RRG because we're getting past all of the abatements and they've kind of fulfilled their obligations for fiscal 24, and we're not quite into fiscal 25. I am still communicating with Harold and, you know, talking about different things. One of which was the list that we have. And he and I were going to make a appointment and have a couple days where we were going to go out into the field and go looking for those ones that we had on our list with the disproportionate permit amounts versus values. So that's another thing that Harold and I are talking about, and one of the things that he wants to go and do and you know sort of be part of and see if it's as bad as we're finding, you know. So yeah, we're strategizing a time to go and take a look at those type of things and get out in the field and try and look at some of the things that are sticking out a little bit more than others.
Mm-hmm.
Neat. That's really neat.
Yeah, have we made any progress on figuring out how to provide oversight or get reports from them so we know how they're doing in their various projects?
I haven't really addressed that with Harold, but I can the next time I talk to him.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, a lot of that we get from David right now, but you know, he has a personal situation that he's dealing with, and we haven't had him in the office for the last couple of weeks. They have been talking about sending someone else out, depending on the outcome of that. But you know, that's another thing, or as far as RG, what they would be doing right now is be getting out in the field and starting to do inspections for everything that happened in the fall and that type of thing.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've talked about this before. I think it would be a good thing, you know, for example, there may be multiple line items of projects that they're working on. And the inspections, which you just mentioned, you know, I think a percent of completion or how many inspections they made relative to the inspections that have to be made, you know, that sort of, those sorts of oversight figures that would be easy for them to generate and easy for us to see how much progress they're making towards their commitments.
Well, one of the things that's have been going on is David doing the inspections, and he's been getting reports right out of Municity. And if he was asking for everything that I'm asking for, I'm not sure. But since basically September of last year, I have been accumulating them all on a spreadsheet the way I wanted to. And, you know, meaning that we're also looking at all gas and electrical and plumbing permits. They're also all thrown in there to make sure that we're getting out and seeing everything we need to. And since I've arrived, I'm supposed to have been taking over more and more of that inspection, and I never have had the opportunity.
Yeah.
But what I just recently gave the spreadsheet to David, and we've been talking about, you know, him finally showing me what he's doing so that I have the process or the opportunity to take over the process, or at least see what's going on. And so then at that time, we can institute more of some type of reporting aspect into what he's doing. So yeah, if there's so many
Okay.
permits, and you should at least be able to say that, yeah, I inspected 250 permits.
Right.
You know, I have, you know, 14 that are still ongoing, or whatever the case may be, from
Yeah.
something that's new construction but not finished yet, or, you know, whatever they could tell us. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea, and something that hopefully we can, you know, get incorporated into our regular process.
Right. And I mean, that's David, but you know, Harold, I recall a conversation you and I had that they were supposed to be inputting some stuff and they were doing a sloppy job of it, or maybe it wasn't getting done in a timely manner. And, you know, all those projects that David is not involved in, but Harold oversees, those are the ones that I think, you know, we need some visibility into. So the next time you talk to Harold, you know, can you explore that with him? And maybe he's got, you know, some internal document that he uses to monitor progress. If he does, that's great. And if he doesn't, then we ought to talk to him about putting something together so we can assess overall progress, not just what David tells us. I know David is doing stuff and he's telling us the right stuff, but there's more that goes on than just David's inspections, I believe. Isn't that right?
Yes, there is. And a lot of the stuff that I was criticizing them about had to do with personal property.
Okay.
You know, so it's not like everything else is a shambles. You know, they're doing a pretty good job with everything. And then it's, you know, one of the things that I know Harold is doing or had requested is the I&E information to double check commercial information, what's being submitted versus the information that we have in our system, which is affecting values. So I suppose that's something else we could incorporate in with our municipal calendar.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, other stuff that they're doing the cyclical review. I
Yeah.
know that has been going on, and exactly where they are with that, we could get an update on that too. So
Okay.
I'll try and put that information together and see if we can get something either for the next meeting or the one after that.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I think the criteria is nobody ought to be spending a lot of time in generating these reports. You know, because we'd much rather have time spent doing stuff rather than generating reports so we know what they're doing. Okay, let's see, ongoing business staffing, we've already talked about that. Is there anything more to be said?
No, not really.
Okay, and budget, has the budget, when, the budget's gonna be approved in what? Is it this meeting or the next meeting?
Not even sure.
Okay,
Soon though, I mean, they already talked about it all a couple of
yeah,
weeks ago.
okay,
And Randy, I thought they gave you a really good reception.
Well, yeah, I think that people are aware that we're, trying to clean things up and especially with where our tax rate is and other things, that it's important for this office to be well-staffed and on top of
Yep.
all of the different responsibilities that we have.
Yeah, so that was great. I was really glad that they felt us on that.
Okay, moving on to business of the Board of Assessors, excise weeks.
We got some here.
Okay,
You sign there.
all right,
Because
and,
much less this time, you'll notice the abatement number is starting to shrink.
Yeah,
yep,
So
time of year.
okay,
we did just receive commitment 3 though, so we'll be putting that out. So a new batch bills will be going out soon.
okay. So there are 11 abatements with a $699.92 abatement amount. So what's the date?
14.
They, we can check anything else on, excise?
Nope.
Okay, anything on, committed revised supplemental bills, that sort of thing?
Not currently,
Chapter land and liens,
not currently.
calendar timeline, you're working on it?
Yeah, whatever. You
Right,
guys can take a look at it too.
okay, that's great.
But yeah,
Okay, under discussion as needed. We've talked about valuation capture, new growth, and tip line updates, so we're all good on those?
Well, we talked, should I say that stuff about the zoning in our meeting? here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, to at least bring Randy up to speed.
Yeah, all right, and I sent it to Randy, but I'll just show it to everyone because it's.
Okay.
So in our new growth meeting, we talked about different ways, but one thing we didn't mention is something that is a thing that was mentioned in the IGR about new growth, which is about how zoning changes can lead to valuation changes, which may be booked as new growth, even though there's no actual construction. So it says that in the IGR, and I talked to Eric Toro, our planning person, and he sent me a really nice note this morning. So I made a couple of slides to talk about that, and he thinks there might be possibilities. So in our next new growth work group, we'll talk about that. In the meantime, I made a little slide about it, which just shows it just shows what's in that document.
Okay.
So it's really nothing too amazing. But
Sure.
yeah, so all this is me babbling while I'm trying to get it up. So let me just jump over to new growth. Here you go. So this is just showing in this part of this IGR document that if you make a zoning change or public improvements, you can book that. So for example, let's say they added a sewer to a street that didn't have one before, then all of a sudden the houses around it have a potential value increase, which we could book.
Okay.
So it's great because we don't have to wait for anybody to dig or any other physical work. And it applies to every parcel in that zone. So even a small valuation change, great, you got a sewer in the street, okay, an extra 1,000. But if there's 100 houses, that's 100,000. So that's nice.
Yeah, but how much is, but putting in a new sewer, makes sense in a development, but if they were replacing a sewer in an existing.
Yeah, that wouldn't count.
Okay.
But it so happens that the street that I live on, a decade ago, they put in a sewer where there never was one. So it does happen.
Right. But
And
10
what
years
about-
is out of bounds.
Do you live on Picket Lane?
Nah, Highland.
So Picket Lane, they just had a new water and sewer put in a few years back, but the residents are all faced with a betterment.
Oh, they have to pay for it.
Yes.
So maybe it's not a value increase for them.
I guess I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, yeah, but wait a minute.
It's
wait a
up to us to figure it out, I guess.
minute. I think they're, I mean, a betterment is called a betterment because
They got better.
you know, the houses all of a sudden got better.
Yeah.
And if they got better, then the valuation ought to be better, you know, a higher valuation.
You got a point, and I don't know, and I'd have to go and look back and do research, but I don't know if, the values did increase on Picket Lane because of that.
Yeah. Well, we ought to check that out, just, you know, from the aspect of new
The other
growth.
thing Eric wanted to know, what about sidewalks? Putting in sidewalks all over town. Does that increase the valuation of the house? Maybe.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay. Ask,
I don't think so because.
ask and answered.
Yeah, but because the city has an easement or has to have some arrangement that, you know, the city can do that.
But if they haven't done it and then they do it, now it's a better lot.
Yeah, but they're doing it on the easement. And,
So it's not, but it still makes the neighborhood better,
okay, well,
right?
Key
I mean,
word
it's-
there, Chuck, the neighborhood. And so something like that could eventually come out, because sales in that neighborhood, now that there's nice sidewalks, they go up and things are selling for a little bit more because the neighborhood's nicer. And that's one of the things that we're looking at when we're doing our dissecting of values. And so we might end up doing some type of increase to that neighborhood because of the sales going up because it's gotten nicer with the sidewalk.
Well, then we should be able to book that as new growth then. That's exactly what this is talking about.
so then we need to find out about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's tough to put your finger on that new growth factor for that. I don't know. I'd have to talk to Harold about it. It's to
Yeah.
see if an adjustment to the neighborhood is something that we could qualify as new growth.
This is exactly the kinds of things to talk about, Harold. And Eric provided me with several different things, which I forwarded to you and which I imagine we'll talk about in that when that next new growth meeting comes up. But I just want to say that whether we actually find anything or not, this is at least something where we can look
Yeah.
for stuff. And Eric, as the zoning guy, actually, he said depending how far back we can go, there might be stuff that's already happened.
Yeah.
And in terms of the future, there's actually, you can see, I'm showing, there's this file that Eric sent out some time ago to Housing Greenfield, which is a big, long list of stuff to improve housing. And many of them are zoning changes. That's why he has it. And so he has a whole long list of zoning changes that have not been done yet. And, they're prioritized and maybe some people don't want to do some of them or whatever, but some of those might have cash in them.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, but we can only get that new growth when it happens, when the zoning change actually happens.
Exactly.
Okay, but it gives us some visibility.
Yeah.
And by the way, Randy, it seems to me, and I have limited experience, but the assessor's office is much more engaged with other departments around the city than I've seen it, at least under the previous both mayoral administration and assessor administration. So I think.
Kudos.
Yeah, I think we're doing the right thing and you're doing the right thing, Randy, and thanks a lot.
Thanks. We're all part of a team, and this is a great way of looking at it. And even if we don't find anything new, it's just a great, I think, effort to have everyone communicating and brainstorming, more eyes, more fresh minds looking at the same situation to come up with, possibly something new.
Yeah, I think that's right. Chuck, what are we seeing here?
This is just the other slide I made up for that meeting, again, showing it here before we go there. just showing, remember that whole concept of we can't match addresses
Yeah.
and we can't match city databases? This is just a sort of an illustration of the databases we're talking about. So up here, you can see our assessing database, and that's parcel ID is a good way of looking at that, and it has the address, blah, blah, blah. Then down here, you can see what the clerk has for the census. So you see there's some people and they live at that address. It also says that there's no other apartment there. Now, there might be a permit record from some time in the past about when this building became a 2-apartment building. But what we don't have is this middle one, which is a database of units. So for each parcel, maybe there's multiple units. They all have the same street address, but maybe they have a different apartment number that makes a unique address for each unit. So in this way, we could find new growth because in the census, it might show there's 11 people living somewhere and their apartments 1, 2, and 3. And our thing, maybe it still shows as a 101 or even a 104, a duplex. If we had this middle thing, it would allow us to reconcile how many people in how many apartments, which are on a given parcel. So this is not something we have. And if we did do it, like where would it live and so on and so forth. But I just wanted to illustrate that there are ways that we can go about this where we might be able to find, and like Stephanie and a lot of people, a lot of the tips we get are about change of use of adding apartments. Something like this would enable us to find those, not to mention all the other benefits, rental registry and, health departments and all these other city departments that would love to know the actual address where people actually live.
Getting the number of apartments, can we get the landlords and I guess we need everything from 101 through 104. 105.
It's 101, 104, and 105 are the relevant.
Yeah, so maybe if we, can we send out something to?
Asking them to attest how many apartments are in your house,
Yeah,
perhaps.
can we do that, Randy?
I suppose we could, but there's I'm sure an expense tied to it.
And Jim, I just want to point out that whole subgroup, the rental registry subgroup I've talked about before.
Okay.
They have that subgroup has, and I'm part of it. So we have an interest in developing something like this. And it's still open, like where that would live, like maybe it will live at the health department. Maybe they're the ones who need to shoulder the cost because it's most important. Or maybe the fire department, they're how many units.
Or maybe it's shared.
Yeah, so I don't have a solution to anything here. I'm just saying that I just wanted to clarify what's really going on and we'll talk about it in the new growth work group.
Okay. Council relations, I'm sorry, Randy, you were saying something?
I said, that sounds good. I think the idea has some merit for sure.
Great. Council relations and expanding exemption qualifications. There's one thing I'd like to bring up, and that is a long time ago, I put together a draft hardship policy for 18 and 18A, an exemption and a deferral.
Mhm.
And what I'd like to do is have that adopted as the policy for hardship, and understanding that things are going to change as we put more hardship cases through these two policies.
Did you just so move?
I'm asking for people's opinion about that, and then I'll make a motion.
I concur.
How do you feel about it, Randy?
Yeah, it's one of those things that, we just got busy and didn't have the chance to get to. And so now that things are calming down, not only for the office, but also for this board, it would be great to address some of those things like also the municipal calendar and, some of the other things that we've been trying to put together and
Right.
Push through. So, yeah, it sounds good to me.
Yeah, so then I move that we accept the draft hardship policies that deal with clause 18 and 18A and use that as the basis for moving forward with the understanding that, the Board of Assessors and the assessor have the right to change these things, but at least we'll have a starting point,
Guidance.
guidance.
It's our own IGR.
Right. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. All in
Yeah.
favor?
Aye.
Great.
Uh,
All right. So, you have that file?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then I guess you can get rid of draft. And I'm not sure where the policies ought to be held.
I'll bring it up, if this is the same draft, just so people can quickly see what you're talking about.
Sure.
Just because they were nice enough to attend. So I don't know, is this older version?
That's an old version, but it's good enough.
Okay, so you can just see that we're trying to get standardized on sort of income and asset and other things. So that we can be consistent and not give one person a hardship and not another person who have the same.
Expenses should be part of that too.
Are they not?
Well, you have the latest.
I see on the finance. Okay, under the documents indicating ability to pay. You're talking about,
Oh, these,
Right, if we're gonna give someone a break
Yeah.
on their taxes, we wanna see what type of income, but we're also looking to see how they're spending their money.
right,
And so, they've got a $500 cable bill, but they don't wanna pay their, real estate tax.
okay. So we already have expense in there, so, what's on deferral?
oh, on 18A?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same
okay.
expense.
All right. So I guess we're all set. This will be a policy moving forward.
And we're gonna attach that to the minutes, the latest, greatest version of that,
Okay.
Okay.
Can you do that?
so everybody can get a hold of
That's
it.
great. We had policy ideas and brainstorming. I don't know that there's much to be said there.
I already gave you.
Okay, we got that. And then I put together a potential description of a GCC community engagement course. And I wanted to get your feedback on that so I can fill out the form and submit it. I have no idea what the decision process is or timeline, but I'd like to at least submit a placeholder. And the proposed placeholder is what I sent you about understanding how property taxes work. And did you have a chance to review it, Chuck, Randy?
I think I did, but I'm trying to pull it up to show everybody.
Okay, it was on a May 4th email.
Yeah, got it,
Okay.
showing it.
I'm sure I looked at it briefly.
Yeah.
Do you want me to just show the
Yeah,
email?
Yeah, show it on the screen.
Okay.
Okay.
Just give me a sec.
Sure. And Stephanie, you take a look at the topics that we're thinking about covering and see, did we miss anything? Or, what's your overall impression of this thing? And you'll be in a much better position to comment once Chuck gets it up on,
There it is.
there it is. Okay.
Sorry for the tiny text.
Yeah, can you expand the text?
I am not sure. I will give it a shot.
Try, it. Yeah, there you go. Okay. You all see it?
I can see.
Okay. So, any comments, or is this okay to submit? Is something missing? How do y'all feel about it?
Looks
In
okay.
the- In the title, could you put something about assessments or property tax?
Sure. Sure. under.
Like what do you have there? Understanding how property taxes work? That would be a great title.
The title.
I'm sorry, I was just looking at the title of the email.
Oh, no,
Generic.
here it is.
You're gonna use that one? Great.
Yeah. Okay. All right, great. And Steph, did you have any comment about this? It's okay if you don't, but just thought I'd get your input. Okay. Moving right along. I'll submit that thing and give you an update. Let's see, educational outreach, website review and assessors night. We still haven't figured out an assessors night. And maybe that's something we talk about after I get some information about this GCC thing, because that's all part of community engagement. Hardship policy, we're taking care of that. Next meeting date, proposed meeting is May 28th and June 11th. That work?
That's what I have on my calendar. I have the 28th
Yeah, let me take.
and the 11th. Yep, that's what I got.
The 8th, 7th,
Sounds good.
okay. Well, I don't have it on my calendar, but I'll put it on. Okay, great.
So shall I move to close public comment?
Well, are there any topics for a new agenda, for the next agenda?
Idea.
Question. Anything I can remove or add?
I don't think there's anything to add. I thought we had a parking lot for agenda items that,
Parking?
yeah, like discussion is needed. I mean,
Oh.
Yeah, they're in there.
Discussion is needed is
okay, that's the
second
parking lot.
topic.
Yeah,
all right.
the only one, we don't usually do anything under policy ideas brainstorming, especially now that we have the new growth work group.
Okay,
But we can keep it on there as a catch-all in case we need to.
yeah. I think who the heck was I talking to? I think, I remember it was Elizabeth Gollum.
Oh, counselor.
Yeah, counselor. I think we ought to,
It's Catherine.
Catherine, thank you, God. We ought to reach out to the council, not now, we'll get through the budget season, but we ought to reach out to the council and try to educate them on what we do and how we do it.
As part of council relations.
Yeah, as part of council relations. So let's, how do we fold that in?
Well, we council relations is something that happens for a lot of things. So we have the one thing we're going to talk about, increasing exemptions for seniors.
Yeah.
But every year we have to, Randy does the whole song and dance for them late in the year when we're trying to figure out larger exemption questions and split tax rate stuff. So like the residential exemptions, small business, affordable housing exemptions, split tax rates, and then eventually the setting of the tax rate. That stuff, while it didn't happen with alacrity in prior years, we could, and Randy, you were giving us the heads up about this, we could start talking to council about that quite early. And it might be great if we gave them a refresher on what we're going to be talking to them about, which is, I think, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
Well, a lot of them don't know it, so it's not a refresher. But
yeah, but we can't wait too long because, right, Randy, didn't you say we need to engage with them on the heavy stuff like several months before November? So we should be engaging with them in the heavy stuff like in August?
I think that's a great idea, and that was one of the things that I brought up, because
Yeah.
right at the 0 hour in the last second, they're saying, well, why didn't you give me all this information? You should have
Right.
known, because we're a forward-thinking council, that we would want this. And, you can't produce what you don't know that people want. And so
Yeah.
that's why I was suggesting, okay, let's talk about it now so that we get to that point of the year that we're on the same page and we're showing you what you want and giving you what you expect.
So maybe we
All
could
right.
do this educational thing in June or July?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
And you already have the slides for that other stuff.
I have a lot of slides that, I can put together something
I would,
and pass it around.
I would love to be a part of that too.
Sure. well, yeah, what I envision is, we send a letter to all of the council members and asking if we can, at one of their scheduled meetings, and I don't care which one, we could be there, or if they want, one-on-one discussions, or we can even do a Zoom.
Any way they want it.
Okay.
We are there to serve.
Yeah,
Right.
they might want to have some type of subcommittee or something like that, but I think it's a great idea to engage them now and say, let's talk about these different things, the classes of property and split tax rate and all these different things that we're talking about then, and find out what is it, now, what is it that you're interested in, instead of, I think that in the past, maybe a lot of questions went unasked and then never answered, and, because of the timing, and if you're not being proactive about it, you get to that point a year again, and well, it's too late again to do it. So let's try, if we can, to engage them now and start working on things now, so it's not everything's left up to the last second.
Okay.
I second.
Okay. I'll draft something so that you guys aren't working with a blank sheet of paper.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that is it for the open meeting. Do I hear a motion to close the open meeting? Well, before I do that, Stephanie
Yeah, make a-
Ryan, I'm sorry, Stephanie
I was
Ryan,
just
do
gonna
you
make a
have anything to add at this stage? Because we're going to close public comment.
Not at this time, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. All right.
What Randy
Bob,
was gonna,
how about you? Do you have anything you want to add in public comment, which we're going to close in a moment?
I have one little thing to say.
oh, hi, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan. What's up?
I just heard a lot of talk about growth and capturing growth, and the sidewalk thing really hit me. Like, when you change the sidewalk in an area, like, can we capture growth? That's like, it seems like it's a little bit of a reach, but we are trying to capture growth. But in retrospect, what about if an area is getting worse? Are we trying to help people out because their area is worse?
And that's why I had mentioned the fact that one of the things that we're looking at is each individual neighborhood. So, the answer to your question is yes. If a neighborhood's getting run down, we're going to see that reflected in the sales. And the way we statistically analyze things, we're going to end up lowering the value of the building lot, basically the land, which is where that neighborhood factor would come out more. So, yeah, if a place is getting nicer, we're going to see that eventually come out in the sales, and see that sales are going for more in that area and make an adjustment for it. Or the exact opposite. It's like, wow, this neighborhood is going, on a downward phase, and everything is selling for less and less. And then that would also get reflected in our values eventually, because of the way we statistically analyze all our sales and the different factors of the sales.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that's good or bad news for your neighborhood, because I know there have been a fair number of sales in your neighborhood, and I don't know whether you think that they were too much or too little. If they were high in your opinion, that's going to make your value go up. If they were, as you say, like accurately low because the neighborhood's dropping, then your value would go down. But it's whatever it is.
What,
I was so when we were talking about like businesses coming in and stuff like that, like crime rate, is that assessed in? Like quality of life, is that like assessed at all, like into your thing, or is it just numbers wise? Because our values are definitely not going down, but our quality of life is not getting any better either.
yeah.
I think we're legally required to do numbers.
Yeah, but I'm also wondering, Randy, can we kick out a list of neighborhoods and neighborhood factors? I remember seeing it, I think, in Concord or something like that. And they listed all, there were like 30 or 40 neighborhoods and, what the factors were. Do we have a similar table that you could kick out for us?
Yeah, we should be able to pull something out of Patriot that shows similar. If you can show me what it was that you're looking at, I should be able to duplicate it.
Okay,
Cool.
all right, that's great.
Yeah, and
Um,
right now, Ryan, it's because of what's going on in the market, everything is selling for more, and so it's difficult for us to see those effects on the different neighborhoods, or even though the effect of might be happening on the neighborhood and the value might be getting lower, uh, the way that particular factor is recognized, it doesn't mean that, everything else unfortunately is overriding at this point because people are, paying so much. But, it is something that is one of the factors of things that we're looking at and something that's considered in every year and every interim valuation, what we call the interim valuation, because we're making adjustments every year. So we're analyzing that and looking at it. And I understand what you're saying, and I think it's more of a reflection of what's going on in the market the last few years and how people are just paying, crazy prices, and then that makes it more difficult to see the effect of different things. But in those, crime rate and the different things that you mentioned, it takes a little bit longer to bear out, but eventually it will because of what's going on with the sales in those neighborhoods. And they're going to reflect, the fact that, okay, no, I'm dumping this house because I want to get out of here because someone was shot 2 lots over last week and I've had enough. You'll start seeing that come out, in the values eventually.
Thanks for that answer. I was just wondering how it was calculated pretty much because it's in Massachusetts, you can get a view tax, but if your view is shitty, you don't get a break. So that's just, I was just seeing how it was calculated, if that's any like factors into any of you guys' calculations. Thanks for that explanation.
No
Yeah,
problem. And it's not referred to as a view tax, but it would be a view adjustment, and it's an adjustment that would go on the building lot. And that's how that view would get reflected. And because someone's going to pay more for that land because it has the view, and that's why an adjustment would get put on the building lot, or that's how the view tax, it's not really a tax, but an adjustment to reflect an accurate thing that happens in the market, that, if you've got 2 ranches and then one is on the edge of a mountain and you can see, some huge panoramic view, and one is down in the center of town and you have no view, and they're, everything is the same, what are you going to buy, And so it's just another market factor that does come out, and it's not necessarily a view tax, but it is, an adjustment that's made for, a legitimate situation that has to do with whatever property.
okay,
So I'll make a motion to close public comment.
I'll second.
okay, all in favor?
I,
Okay. And that's it. Thank you,
I'll make a
Ryan,
motion
thank
to
you.
go into executive session.
second.
So moved.
I.
Okay, and we're executive session at 10:38.